Hey Facebook, we're back for real this time. It's your girl, Waneshia, author, writing mentor, and founder of an education website. You all should know by now that I have Pretty Geeky Kids Club, and we're out here trying to do the thing, do whatever we can to help the kids be great, to help them all be successful. And I am here every single week talking with you guys every single Thursday at 8 o'clock, talking with you guys about the things that I'm learning, the things that I'm seeing in the classroom, so that ultimately we can work together to help these kids be awesome and amazing, right? So tonight I have Waneshia Goines joining me. She is hopefully you guys can still see me. She is social work and she's a certified school counselor, and she has over 10 years experience in family support services. So I thought that it was only right to have her on tonight as we talked about bullying. Bullying is a hot topic, obviously, with everything that's going on in the world. Bullying is a hot topic from the standpoint of the bully and the person being bullied. By now, you guys should know that I'm working with my kiddos on stories. And for many of them, the conflict that they chose to center their story around was bullying. So it's important that we talk about it. It's important that we arm ourselves with as much information as we can so that we can help our children overcome this thing that they're dealing with on a daily basis. And this is much worse than it was whenever we were children. So we want to make sure that they feel good about how to handle it and how to make good decisions. So as I was looking for quotes by famous people, regular people, whatever, about bullying, I found you can't be against bullying without actually doing something about it. So I was like, well, okay, that makes sense. You know, people arguing about or fussing about things that they don't agree with, but not actually putting anything into place to change it, then, I mean, you ain't really helping the problem, right? So
Right.
here we are. We're here tonight. Waneshia is joining me. Hopefully her camera is working. I see her, so yes, it's working. We're gonna have to clean that lens off a little bit because it's a little fuzzy, boo. But nonetheless, you're here, and I'm excited. It's a little, yeah, just there you go. So I'm excited to have her on with me. This is my best friend, y'all. This is my deuce, and I'm excited to share the screen with her tonight as we talk about bullying. So first, we are going to talk about Waneshia and who she is, and I want to have her to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about who she is and what she's done thus far in her life. Go.
So I am never that great with
What happened here?
in psychology and a master's in social work. Has been in human services, HR, and family services, and currently work with a Head Start agency as a family support specialist. So I'm here for all things family and education.
Awesome. I love it. So, just as a reminder, we are talking about bullying tonight. I hope that the screen is not frozen on the viewer's end, because as I'm seeing it, it looks like it might be a little stuck, but we're going to keep it rolling as if it was not. Hopefully it's not, though. So bullying, we all should know what bullying means, but I think that we could all use a little refresher on exactly what that term means, because I think sometimes our kids especially are not really understanding what that term means. So bullying is the use of force, threat, or coercion to abuse, intimidate, or aggressively dominate others. The behavior is often repeat and habitual. Bullying is not a kid thing. As kids get older, they become more sophisticated, and so does their bullying behavior. The reason why I think it's important that we talk about what bullying is because I had a student this week who felt like because it was his friends that it really wasn't bullying, because it was his friends. Hold on a second, guys. Let's make sure that we're not stuck. That because it was his friends, just a second, guys. Because it was his friends, it didn't matter that he was being bullied. Can everybody still see me? For those of you who are watching, can you just give me an emoji and let me know that you're still there? Because I think we might have had some technical difficulties just now. Can you guys still see me? Let me know if you're good to go. Okay, so I see some emojis. Okay, thank you. All right, so the reason why I think it's important for us to understand and to educate our children on exactly what bullying is because I had a student who felt like because it was his friend who was bullying him and was doing bullying like things to him, that it was okay. And I disagree. Just because it's your friend does not give that person the right to treat you badly, to knock you on the floor and pretty much like embarrass you in front of your peers. I don't think that it gives you the right just because you call yourself my friend. So I think it's important that we have the conversation about bullying and what it is and make sure that our children understand what it means. And I was having a conversation with my mom and she said, you know, some kids don't know what it means. They think it's just one thing or the other. And we need to make sure that we understand all definitions of bullying. So I'm gonna hit that again. Bullying is the use of force, threat, or coercion to abuse, intimidate, or aggressively dominate others. The behavior is often repeat and habitual. Bullying is not just a kid thing. So as these kids get older, guess what? Those bullying
They come
antics go along with them. So Waneshia, you could please share with us thoughts on what bullying is before we get into the telltale signs of whether or not our children or somebody's child is a bully.
Basically what the definition says is usually an aggressor going after somebody that they know that they can overpower, somebody that they feel that they can control. So excuse me y'all, I got stuck. So like you said, they use force to, you know, get what they want, to control somebody, to manipulate somebody. And it's often, like Lanisha said in the definition, it's not something that just happens once. It's something that happens repeatedly. So if you know that you have an aggressive child or they have displayed some type of aggressive behavior more than once, that's something you should kind of zone in on. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to grow up to be a bully, but that is a sign of a bully, like aggressive behavior, not feeling any remorse for that aggressive behavior, just emotionless when they do things. So that's not saying, oh, your kid is going to grow up to be a bully, but that is something you should pay attention to at a young age or whenever you start to notice their aggressive behavior.
Yes, and Waneshia has went ahead and jumped into our telltale sign number 4, which is if your child displays aggressive behavior, even if it is toward adults, then that is a sign. It's not guaranteed, but it is a sign that it could potentially be a bully because you know if they bowing up at you as the parent or the uncle or the grandma or the babysitter, whatever, if they're bowing up at you, chances are they might bow up at some of their peers as well. So we want to pay attention to those children who are displaying aggressive behavior, especially if it's to adults, and then obviously watch them with their peers. So, Waneshia, if you want to share with us another telltale sign for children who may be bullies. And while she's pulling that up, go ahead. Hey,
Oh
Leslie.
no, I was just gonna say, this is not a telltale sign that, you know, is on our list, but it is a telltale sign, like when your child begins to possess belongings that aren't there, or they have things that, you know, you didn't provide for them.
Oh, they're stealing.
Not necessarily stealing, but you know, if they come home with a new chain that you know you didn't provide for them, it could be a matter of them stealing it, or they bullied a kid and took it from them. So obtaining possessions that aren't theirs, that's a telltale sign of bullying.
So, just to reiterate that point, if your child is coming home with what did we used to wear back in the day? Herringbone necklaces. If your child is coming
Yes. Do they even
with
still have
herringbone
those?
and new J's and whatever this new stuff is that kids like, if your child is coming home with these things and you know for sure that you did not buy them, the other parent did not buy them, grandma did not buy them, you might want to check with your child, especially if you're not working, and figure out where they got it from. And I, for one, I just do not like, I don't like thieves and bullies. I mean, we don't have to necessarily call it a thief, but I mean, if you're taking it out of you, stole it, basically. They were just looking while you did it. So we need to make sure that we're paying attention to those things that our children are bringing in the house, because if we didn't buy it, they need to take it back to wherever they got it from. So
Right.
another telltale sign is your child likes to dominate others. They like to push kids around, or they like to tease them. And I think sometimes as a parent, you have to um, not find these things common. It's not funny for your child to be teasing or being the jokester or whatever. And I get that, sometimes we all laugh at little kids who do little things like that. But at the end of the day, if that behavior is following them in the classroom and they are making a habit of making fun of other people, that's not a good thing. It's really not. And so we have to make sure that we are modeling ourselves good behavior for our children, and we are correcting the behaviors that we don't want them to carry with them into the classrooms.
Right. And another telltale sign is your child blames others for their behavior.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like not in the joking manner, because of course I know when I was in school, if I was to get in trouble, like let's say for talking, I would blame somebody else. But like if I walked up and I punched somebody in the face and I blamed them for my behavior or somebody else for my behavior, you might want to check in with your kid
Somebody made you
and
do
be
it.
right, because you're in control of your hands and who they reach out and touch.
Mm.
So you can't really blame anybody else for that but you.
Make sure that, and that kind of goes into the things that we want to make sure that we're teaching our children too, is making sure that they understand they need to be accountable for themselves. And last week, whenever I talked with you guys, we talked about whether or not we are being accountable or we're passing the blame onto somebody else. So if something's happening and you question your child, you find out what's happening, and your child is the center of it, your child has either reached out and touched somebody, or they've done something, um, they need to take responsibility for what they've done, right? Because that's the only way that you're going to be able to correct that behavior. That's the only way you're going to be able to move forward and get them into a better space. And to
Right.
blame little Timmy is not going to help, right? So we have to make sure that we're teaching our children how to be accountable for their own actions. Another telltale sign is your child gets satisfaction out of the fear or pain of others. This is so bad. As I was reading this online, I was like, whose child is like this? This is so sad. But
You
we
would
don't
be
want our child.
surprised at the number of kids that are like that.
It's sad though for your child to be satisfied or to be happy or overjoyed when somebody else is in pain or is fearful of something. That's kind of sad, and I think that is an indication that there's an underlying issue, and that might
Right.
be when you want to bring in a therapist or somebody like Waneshia to speak with your child to see what's going on, because that's deep. That's deep. Another telltale sign
And
is child is a smooth talker even in tough situations. So
slick mouth.
can your child talk their way out of everything? And does it show up in the classroom as well? So when you're talking with your child's teacher, does the teacher even talk about how smooth little Bobby is, and how every time that she goes up to little Bobby about something that he's done, how he finds a way to finagle his way out of it? Like he's smooth, like he's a smooth operator. He just gets it. You got to pay attention to behaviors like that as well, because that could be going back to his inability to accept responsibility for his own actions. And we don't want that. We don't want to set that precedent in his life. We don't want to set that tone.
At
When is
all.
you last one?
The last one is your child is easily frustrated.
Mm.
And this is often seen a lot in kids because, they're still learning and maturing, and there's a lot that they don't know. So most of the time, kids get frustrated at doing something simple like tying their shoe or learning something new. But you have to pay attention to how frustrated they are. Like, what level of frustration are they at? Like, is it just something mild? Is it extreme? Like, did they flip over their desk, toss papers just because their pencil lead broke. Like, what's going on here? Why are you so angry over
Yeah,
something
that
so
yeah, and that goes back to that aggressive behavior, and that's even towards adults. Because if he's flipping over desks, then clearly he has no regard for his teacher.
right?
So we definitely want to pay attention to things like that. Also, as you are paying attention to your child and what they have going on and their behaviors in class, and whether or not they're blaming other people or taking responsibility for their own actions, you also, who is this trying to get? You also want to make sure that you're monitoring their behavior with their friends, right? So as they are hanging out with their friends, they're playing basketball or they're playing Barbie dolls. Monitor their behavior. Are they the ones that's bossing everybody around, telling
Right.
jokes, sizing their friends, making their friends feel like they shouldn't belong, or their quote unquote friends? If you have your children on social media, you need to pay attention to who they're talking to on social media. You need to pay attention to the websites they're going to, the things that they find pleasure in terms of watching stuff. Because if they're watching things on the internet or on TV that exhibits the behaviors that we've given examples of, like aggressive behavior, not taking responsibility, just teaching them bad habits, you want to nip that in the bud. You really want to nip that
Right.
in the bud as quickly as you can. So all of these things kind of shed light to whether or not your child is a bully. And just so that you guys do not forget, we're going to run over them one more time. So telltale sign number one is your child likes to dominate others. They're pushing others around or they're teasing other children. Telltale sign number two is your child tends to blame other people for their behavior. They don't take responsibility, they passing the blame. Your child gets satisfaction out of the fear of others or the pain of others, and that's a big one. I feel like that's a big deal. If you're seeing that, I think you need to get some intervention ASAP, because it sounds like a Lifetime movie in the making. If your child is aggressive towards other children or adults, you need to intervene on that as well. If your child is a smooth talker in tough situations, or your child is easily frustrated, those could all be telltale signs of your child being a bully. And we want to be on the lookout for
Bully.
that, because we don't want your child isolating anybody else, just like we don't want anybody isolating your child. So let's say that you've
And
heard this live today, and you're like, well, little Jessica checks off like three out of 5 or 6 of these. Now what? Now what do you need to
you
do
might
once you realize that you're now what do they need to
well, the
do,
first
Waneshia?
thing you should um well, the parents need to acknowledge the behavior and then address it. Find out what's going on. Like, a lot of times kids aren't always comfortable with telling parents what's going on. So if you sit and you talk with your child and you say what's going on, get down to the root of what's causing this behavior, that can start the process of them becoming less aggressive, becoming less overly frustrated, like reduce them acting out and attacking people, because some of this stuff could be a learned behavior. Like, are you a bully?
Yep.
Kids tend to model what they see and who they are around. So you have to do a self inventory on you and say, do I display these behaviors? Like, are they picking this stuff up from me? What do I need to do to change me so that I can help my child?
Definitely. The number one thing that Wanisha just mentioned was find out what's happening. So you definitely want to have that conversation with your child. And we've talked about this several weeks in the making, where, it's important that we have conversations with our children, because we need to know what's
Right.
going on in their heads, in the classrooms, behind you, in your room, in the bathroom. I need to know what's going on everywhere. I need to know what you're thinking. I need to know how you're processing things. We need to be on the same page. So it's really important that you guys are having these conversations with your child, because in the conversation, you may be able to stop some of these behaviors. You may be able to stop some of the acting out before it even happens. The
And
number, go ahead.
even if your child may have difficulty verbalizing it to you, maybe have them write it down in a journal or come up with some I know Lanisha loves journaling. I find some creative way for the child to express themselves. They could write it out, they could draw it, play some kind of game. Like, kind of got to engage kids to get stuff out of them, because of course they're not just gonna walk up and be like, oh mom, X, Y, and Z happened at school today, like this is why I'm acting like this. Like, they're not able to do that right off the bat. So sometimes it's like pulling teeth just to get them to say, I was just having a bad day.
Yes.
Okay, cool, I accept that.
You definitely have to meet your child where they are, because even whenever I think back on whenever I was growing up, I didn't always listen to everything that my mom or my grandmother or my superior said to me. I didn't always listen. I thought they were trying to cut out all my fun. So some of that
Right.
stuff I kind of
Funfully.
tune out. You have to find a way to meet your child where they are. So what you guys want to do if you find out that your child may be a bully is you need to encourage them to empathize. So they need to be able to look at other people and feel. They might not know exactly how they feel,
Right.
but they should be able to be empathetic. They should be able to say, oh man, I wouldn't want to feel like that, or that sucks. Something that they need to be able to feel a hint of what somebody, hey Lisa,
No.
they feel a hint of what somebody else is going through, and that's going to discourage them from doing anything that can make that person feel that way, because they know how it is, right? So
Or
yeah.
maybe have been bullied and they do know how it felt. So maybe some self-reflection of, oh, I remember when somebody did something to me, how that made me feel. Like, I don't want to continue to make others feel that way. Like, because that's not cool. Like, nobody wants to walk around feeling certain kinds of ways or looking over their shoulder wondering who's going to do what to them. So encourage them to, you know, have some empathy and feel. Feeling is
Yeah.
great.
Yes, feeling is healing.
It
I
is.
One of my students was telling me that 2 years ago she was a bully. And she shared with us that the reason why she was a bully is because she had been bullied, and that she chose to stop bullying. So it was only a small stint. She only did a small bit of bullying. She chose to stop bullying because of how bad she
You
felt
feel
after she did it. Because she remembered how she
right.
felt when it was happening to her. And she was like, I didn't feel good about what I was doing. And that's why it's
Right.
important that you encourage your child to feel, to not hold things in, to feel, so that can maybe prevent them from pushing those feelings, or making somebody else feel those bad feelings. So the number 3 thing is to get to the root of the bullying. So that again goes right back to finding out what's going on in their
Fine.
life.
Going on.
Conversation, right? We need to understand what's going on with you, little Timmy, little Johnny, little Jessica. Get to the root of the bullying. Just like the example that I just gave, she was bullying because she had been bullied. So once you have those conversations with your child, understand what is encouraging this behavior and what things you need to put in place to stop it, or to correct it, or to reform it. Anything you want to add,
And most
Waneshia?
bullies, no, I was just gonna say most bullies have been bullied. Like, it's like a domino effect. It was done to me, so I'm gonna do it to somebody else, and then it just keeps going and going and going. So if you get to the root of what's going on, like, you can stop it. And even though, going back to like the telltale signs, a lot of times when kids do things, parents typically say, oh, they're just being kids.
Mm.
These kids are going to grow up to be adults, and yeah, they may just be being kids, but if you keep pacifying them just being kids, you are allowing them to continue this behavior instead of nipping it in the bud. So you're allowing the bully to grow instead of knocking
Mm.
it and saying, this is
That's
where
not
this stops.
that's not the type of blooming that we want to see happen. We don't
At
want.
all. They need to be beautiful flowers, happy, and all not angry and knocking people's heads off and being disrespectful to adults. And
I'm learning so many things about bullying. I did not know that, like, I thought that, you know, when you watch the movies on TV about bullying and they got the little boy head in the toilet and they flushing it, like, I'm thinking this is fiction. Like, this is what happens
right,
in movies. No,
happens
like,
in real life.
real life. And it's unfortunate. And, you know, kids are getting football moves done to them in school, like, not on the football field. That's a
Right.
big, like, that's, so anyway,
Okay.
a thing that you could do once you realize that once you realize that your child may be a bully is you need to check yourself. And Wanisha got into that a little bit earlier. She is like super excited, so she jumped ahead. But you need to check yourself and make sure you are not the problem. Because, you know, like she mentioned, a lot of this stuff is learned behavior, or it is a reflection of something that you've already experienced. So either it might be
Right.
happening to you at home, or you might be seeing your mom or your dad treat somebody the way that, you know, you are treating your
Right.
classmates. Check yourself. And I tell y'all all the time, sometimes we got to look at ourselves and see if we the problem. I look at myself every day and I give myself an evaluation, and everything that I feel like I need to tweak, I go ahead and start working. And I'm not going to say that tomorrow it's going to be all the way fixed, but I'm going to steps. I'm going to make the steps.
And start the process.
I'm going to start the process. And obviously, if the behavior doesn't improve after all of these telltale signs, if all these things that you're doing, you're talking to your child, you're encouraging them to empathize, you're getting to the root of the bullying, or so you think, you're making sure that you're not the problem. If the problem still does not improve, if they are still in school, you know, dominating people, if they're still blaming their behavior on somebody else, if they're still being aggressive to you and to their peers, if they're still trying to smooth talk their way out of it, and getting easily frustrated with you, then you may want to enlist the help of a therapist or somebody who is a professional in this realm that can help your child, because maybe it might be out of your hands. So
and therapy is not a bad thing. I know there's stigmas attached to therapy, but it's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It just means, hey, you know, I need a little bit of help, and we all need a little bit of help sometimes. And sometimes you need help from outside forces who can give unbiased opinions, give a little professional opinion, and it's all to help you. Like, a lot of people struggle with therapy, or they hear therapy or counseling and it's just like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Like, you should, because there's nothing wrong with it. Like, it's a very I can't find the word right now.
cleansing, maybe, I don't know.
Cleansing and self-reflecting process. So, which ties back into, you know, encouraging and, you know, checking yourself. Is it you? So therapy is not a bad thing. It's pretty awesome. And I'm
I
just
think
not just I'm in the arena, but it is.
yeah, she is. She wants to call her. That I think that Beyonce, I think that Jay-Z's latest interview and his openness about therapy and it needing to be in school systems, I think that's going to change a lot of people's mind. I think it's going to make them a lot more open to seeking outside help, to seeking counsel outside of their household, and not relying just on, you know, faith or whatever. Not saying that God can't fix it, because God can fix anything, but sometimes you need somebody to talk to who can help you maneuver through the things that are, you know, going through your head, right? So, and I think that Jay-Z is going to help to normalize it and make it feel okay to seek that help. So, we essentially
all need additional tools.
You said what?
Help us. I said we all need additional tools to help us sometimes.
Absolutely. So the whole purpose of tonight's conversation is we want to come on and talk about it. There's a lot of talk about bullying going on. There's always a video or a meme or something being shared about bullying. There's videos being shared about it or whatever. You know, there's people that are dealing with it. There are children who are even taking their lives because of being bullied. So I think that it's important for us to continue the conversation, which we are, and actually do something about it. We don't just want to talk about it. We want to actually do something about it. Like the quote that I read at the beginning of the live video by Mr. Randy Weingarten, you can't be against bullying without actually doing something about it. So we're starting the conversation today, or we're continuing the conversation today. I am working with my children in the classroom. We're writing stories about it. They're creating their own solutions to bullying, and I'm going to share those stories with you guys at the end of the semester. So just stick with me, and we're going to see if we can knock our own little dent in the bullying that we deal with in our own lives together. But that's why we're here tonight. If you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to drop them below. I forgot to remind you guys at the beginning of the video that when you come in my house, you have to speak. You know the rule. Can't come in and not 21. Dr. Leslie Kennedy wants to call me right now. But thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll be back next week. Next week, we're going to have Principal Lisa D on. She's going to be right there where Waneshia is. She's going to be right there where Waneshia is. And she's going to be talking to us about some of the things that she wants to share with parents, or she wished that children knew, and telling us a little bit about her journey to being a principal. And she's like barely 21. So we're going to talk to her next week. Waneshia, thank you so much for joining me tonight as we talk about bullying. Waneshia will be back in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks to talk more about bullying and the child. We're going to talk about it from the standpoint of the person being bullied. Tonight, we talked about from the standpoint of the person doing the bullying and how to identify if our child is a bully or if they're exhibiting bully-like characteristics. We want to nip that in the bud. And in 2 weeks, we're going to be back talking about if your child is the one being bullied. We want to figure out how we can correct those actions. And as we continue this series, we're going to try our best to give you guys things that you could take away and implement in your own homes, in your own schools, about how to turn your bullies into leaders and how to teach the ones being bullied to stand up for themselves and not in a negative way, not in a negative way.
Right.
We don't want you going out, you know, but standing up for yourself in a very positive way, and creating a domino effect of positive action. So anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us. Waneshia, thank you. And I will see you guys next Thursday, 8 o'clock, same time, same place. Peace.
Bye.